first drive on offense. This is 2nd and 8. And I just kind of want to show how great our run game was this game. It was pretty effective. And one of the things that we were doing well was last week we were doing kind of these combo blocks. This week we're doing some zone stuff or zone reads where we kind of just sweep everything out, and then Dowdle will try to find the cutback lane. So you can see we pushed everybody down this way, and then that just left all of this here. Next play. Okay, so this one I really like, but if we pause it here, you can see that we have Schoonmaker, which is where this ball's going, but look, there is nothing out here. And so I would just put this play in my back pocket if I was Mike McCarthy. Maybe it's just some failed defense, but we'll actually see this later and it'll be the same thing. If we could look at this play and this play continues to be defended in the same manner, we need to be pushing 86 up the field because there's nobody here. One last time. Also like the play action bootleg stuff, especially when our running game is working well. This is good to see. It's just really good anticipation. And I really like these timing route things because they're really hard to defend. You can see he's making the decision to throw this before he's even stopped. The ball's out of his hand and halfway there by the time Lamb gets his head around. It's a good catch on Lamb's part. I love all of that. One more time. Okay, so this is just to show you just how great our O-line was blocking to start the game. I mean, look at the penetration we get into the defense and how far we're able to push the defenders back before even Dowdle even gets contacted. Right, so we're like 3-4 yards downfield. And I think he could probably get an arm on him somewhere in there, but that's pretty excellent. One last time. All right, this is to show that zone read and what happens when it goes wrong. And they just don't account for this guy. I'm not sure if that's part of the read or blocking process or if that was a mistake on his part, or maybe he's supposed to come down. I don't really know what's going on, but maybe they're hoping he would kind of scrape over, but he doesn't. He maintains his gap and stops this play from going anywhere. All right, this is 4th and 1, and I actually do not like what we do here as far as our formation is concerned. The defense is sending 5 here, and this guy's gonna come up and act like he's gonna blitz, and he is, and so we're gonna bring our tight end down here to help with the protection. And the reason I don't like it is because I want the defense, when possible at all times, to consider that we might run or pass. And 4th and 1 is definitely a passing or a running situation, or a possible running situation. And so I would have liked to seen us do that. Now, what ends up happening is great, and we score a touchdown, but I don't like how our formation came about. I'm probably being too picky, but you know, you score a touchdown, that's great. But I'm thinking big picture here, what I want our offense to be, and I want our offense to be threatening in every way possible, because we don't have a lot of threatening pieces otherwise. So you can see we have an unblocked guy here, and once again Cooper Rush is throwing this before Lamb is out of his break, and he's going to beat this corner pretty severely. We'll watch that again. And then one more time from the other angle on the all-22. Welcome to Dallas Cowboys Breakdowns. My name is Dallas, yes, really, and this is my bird Perry, and you might be hearing baby noises throughout this. You'll have to excuse us. My wife and our child is in the other room, and the house is not really soundproofed super well, so please bear with me. This video, I'm going to be going over the Bengals game from the all-22 angle to kind of just get a better insight to what the Cowboys did well and what the Cowboys did not do well. Hope you enjoy it. Here we can see Burrow doing some hand motions to his guy out over here on the right, which I think is some sort of stop and go signal. And so we get to see that little fake, and then he throws over, and then Bland at the last second turns over his head and is able to get his hand up to knock that ball out. It's good to have Bland back. He's a really good corner. He had a pretty good game. He had a pretty big blunder at the end of it, but otherwise I think he was excellent, especially considering the competition that he was going up against. This is a good receiving core and an excellent quarterback. All right, watch it one more time. All right, here I just want to look at this play here. I don't understand why that's not holding. And later in the game, I want to point something out that the refs called as holding, and they actually called something holding that looked very similar to that on this very drive, like 3 or 4 plays earlier. But why this isn't holding, I don't know. That looks like a holding to me. All right. This is just tough, kind of like we were talking about Rush and CeeDee Lamb doing routes with anticipation. It's just harder to defend, and so Bland's going to get caught up in that as well. They pointed this out on the broadcast, but here you can see before he's out of the break, the ball is out of his hands. So this is hard. I mean, Bland is right there to defend it and just isn't able to knock it out of his hands. It's a good play by the Bengals. You know, those are great players, and great players make great plays. This is, speaking of that, great players making great plays. This is one right here, and CeeDee Lamb just turns what's nothing into something. What I don't like, the only thing I don't like is that at the end with his shoulder stuff. Just get out of bounds for me, buddy. But if we watch it again, this play should have been blown up. You know, they've got the linebacker here who's read it, he's beat everything about it, and he has to cut all the way back. And this little move right here, like I'm gonna get outside, he's taking that step out, and so 91 is coming up to try to make sure that that doesn't happen, and then he cuts inside of him. Oof, brutal. And you know, 73 throwing some decent blocks there at the end as well. Like I said, get out of bounds though. I know his shoulder is bothering him, and I don't really want to see him getting hit unnecessarily, and that looked unnecessary. He wasn't going to score. I think he could probably admit that, given the angles that he has here. I guess maybe he didn't know the people behind him. That's a possibility too. All right, let's look at our run game here. It's just good stuff. We just go frame by frame. We can see we got Hoffman here, fakes that outside. And then we have BB coming in here to move the linebacker out. And Dowdle breaks that tackle, and he's a good runner. Runs low, runs hard. Here we are in the red zone, 2nd and 10. Our first down play was a run that didn't go anywhere. I'd like to see us run again, but we run this play here and it's intercepted. And if you're thinking that this looks really, really familiar, that we've seen Lamb get picked off like that because of the route combination, well, you'd be thinking of the Texans game. And we're going to see this same action down here. Right? That route, we have Lamb running this slant with Ferguson running this wheel route. Whenever we do that, that apparently puts that linebacker or that defender in Lamb's way, and it's not pass interference, it's just a route combination that puts our wide receiver that we're apparently throwing to, maybe Rush should be throwing here instead, and that would solve that issue. But you know, we get to see the same thing here. We have this wheel route and then a slant, and again, we'll have Lamb running right into that and another interception. So if that's in our playbook still, that's, I think, bad coaching. We should just remove that from our playbook completely, or coach Lamb to run a different route there, run it differently, run it deeper, run it more shallow, something. All right, third drive on our defense. This is 4th and 3. We're gonna look at Overshown's closing speed here. It's just good to see, and devastating news about him, but I'm gonna celebrate the good things that he did against the Bengals, which was quite a bit. Less time. Nice. All right, game's tied 7-7, second quarter, 1st and 10. This is just more running back goodness. Dowdle is a running back 1. I know there's been a lot of talk about drafting a running back. I don't know if that's necessary if we have Dowdle. I think he's good enough. And, you know, I don't have any problems with getting another playmaker, but if you just like look at these runs, this is an RB1 type stuff, you know. He's reading the hole and he's reacting and he's bursting through it. It's exactly what you want. And when we see this from the other angle, we'll pause it and just, you tell me, like, where do you think he's supposed to run this ball? And he sees the hole, right? We're going frame by frame here. Like, look at that. That does not look like a running play that has success in it. And yet he sees, right here, he sees this gap and exploits it. Good on him, man. All right, shown that play enough. On to the next one. This is just to show, like, putting Zeke in there, it's just not the same, you know. Maybe that wasn't blocked as well, but it just doesn't have the same burst. There's not the same speed there. Like, that's the hole. I think he knows that's the hole, and maybe the old Ezekiel Elliott can hit this or go outside here, but he's just unable to do it. I think it's time to move on from him. All right, back on defense, 4th drive. This is really frustrating time because we actually look like we're rushing a bunch, but we don't rush that many, and we're rushing 4 and we have 7 back. There's 1 behind here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we don't win. And on the other angle, you might see, like from behind the quarterback, you might see Parsons getting held. If you just watch Parsons, I'm not sure if I know what holding is because they don't call holding on him ever. But, you know, if you have 3 guys and 7 defenders, I feel like the 7 defenders should win. That was a 3rd and 7, they lose. It's a rough one to lose a play on. All right, 2nd and 5. This is a touchdown screen. Anytime you see 4 to one side, I think in your brain you should be thinking screen. Okay, these are 3 blockers, and this is your receiver. It could vary a little bit, but anytime you see 4 to one side, start thinking screen. So I think we read it fairly well, but just we don't take super great angles or read the block super well from the defensive side, and maybe we're not knowing how fast this running back is or just underestimating his speed. There's that little push there. I think it actually pushes him in a better spot, but he's unable to get all the way over to him. And if we go back, we can see that Diggs is filling in here, and whenever he does that, he breaks it out and it just puts Diggs in a bad spot, and Wilson up here is just not able to push him out. It looked like it was close on the replays, but they called a touchdown, so that's what it was. All right, 4th drive for our offense. We have a 1st and 10 call here, and we're just gonna look at how Cooper Rush makes decisions. I think for the large part, he does a pretty decent job. This game, he did pretty well, but there are some moments where you're like, oh my goodness. And I kind of have to keep in mind, like, he hasn't even played a full regular season of NFL football, like starting those games. And so he goes here as because that's where he sees the opening, but if he doesn't move this way and just stays there, that ball doesn't get there. I'm fairly certain that's picked off. They kind of just naturally run into each other because Wingo knows he's not open, so he's gonna continue over, and we kind of luck out there. That should be an interception. All right, that drive apparently went nowhere, so we're at 5th drive on defense, 1st and 10. And this is the starting of like the 2-minute offense for the Bengals. And I would say as a defense, just throw this play out as well. We'll have Jamar Chase just doing this little drag route, and any defense that takes like the best player on the field and leaves them this open, I think is not great defense. And it doesn't go too much, but he's just too open. All right, 2nd and 10. That same drive. This is a really good job by Bland up here, keeping that outside contain and just making sure that this play doesn't go anywhere. You know, just like the CeeDee Lamb play where he cut back and he ends up getting 40-something yards. This could have been something similar, but Bland's discipline gives the Cowboys a good chance to get off the field with only giving up a field goal. And that's all they did. All right, next drive for our offense. This is a 3rd and 5, and I just want you to be looking at this like, who is he supposed to throw to here? And so, you know, that's his drop back. It's 3rd and 5. Maybe he's got something here, but this route isn't open. This route isn't open. This isn't open. And really, now that we play through this is definitely not open. This is less open than it looked like to begin with. And so he's just looking out here and trying to, I think, get Cooks to do something. And Cooks really can't go anywhere. And we're off the field. Watch that one more time. FYI, I created a newsletter, and I was pretty iffy about whether or not I should do this, but the algorithm has been doing some funny things lately, and I just want to make sure that all my videos have a chance to be seen by you. And you can choose whether or not you want to watch them, but sometimes the algorithm won't even show it to you. So this is just something to help me with that. You can find the link in the description. Sign up there. On to the 3rd quarter. This is the drive coming out of the half. This is that bootleg that we saw earlier in the game. And again, we see there's nobody here to cover one. This right here, maybe the safety would come back out or something, but this looks wide open if we could go up the field with this. Now he puts it on Tolbert's hands and Tolbert drops it, but I think there's a possibility to make that play very explosive. Next play. Yeah, anytime we get Turpin involved, I'm a big fan of that. If you've watched any of my videos, you pretty much know that. And this is no exception. All right, here we have a run over here to our left. The offense is right. And we're gonna have our guard, this is Bass at this point, pull and take on this defensive back, and Lukey out here taking out this corner, and we just got a pretty big gap, and Daddle's able to expose that hole and get some pretty good yardage. We can see that again. That's good stuff, man. On to the next play. Now, this is something that makes me have faith in our coaching staff. There's a lot of things at the end of this game that make me not have faith in our coaching staff. But we talked last week about the quintessential goal line play, which is you have crossing routes, and then this guy will run the back of the end zone, and then these two guys will delay and then run out or underneath or something. This is a action based on that play, but it's going to look like it. You can see as they are looking like they're going to cross, they stop and fake out and go the other way. So, you know, the defense has keyed on this play. And so whenever they do that, there's actually a pass interference here, but Cooks fights through that and gets wide open, scores a touchdown. It's good stuff. Watch it again. Yeah, a counter to our quintessential Cowboys goal line play. So if the coach was watching this, I think this is one that would maybe like make him lose some hair. I mean, you have players in place to make the play, and they just don't make the play, right? He has two possible opportunities to get sacks, and it just doesn't happen. And so on a 2nd and 4, it turns into a 3rd and 4, and a short little completion out here for 7 yards is able to get the first down. So we can see that again. This is really what our corners were getting beat down all game, and Lewis, I think, had a particularly bad game. Of course, he was going against a very, very good receiver, but that was not a matchup that worked out in our favor at all. Okay, it works out in the end for our defense on this drive, though, because of this play right here. And one of the nice things about all of our blitzing is it does count, does make it so that the Bengals don't send out a lot of receiving options. You can see there's only 2 down the field here. One's breaking out, another one's breaking out here. But when Joe Burrow makes this throw, the natural movement of Kendricks, just following the position of the ball, following the quarterback's eyes, he just kind of runs into Chase. It's not pass interference, they're both going towards the ball, and causes him to get off balance. I think the ball was probably not going to be caught anyways, but he might have been able to get his hand on it if there wasn't for that bump. We can see it from the other angle, and this will be the last time I show it. All right, 1st and 10, 7th drive for offense. I love this play a lot, and the reason I love it is because of that play action. You can see whenever we do that fake toss, watch the linebackers here swing over, and it just leaves it wide open for Ferguson. Let's see it again from the wide angle this way, the sideline angle. Cool, good stuff. This jet sweep stuff with CeeDee Lamb, I think I'm done with it. With this shoulder stuff, I think it's just time to call it a day, a season on that play. Done it a lot. I think it's played out. Next play, we have Turpin here. Another really nice play, in my opinion, because there's a couple good points in it. One, I love giving Turpin the ball, but 2, we have this little motion that looks like he might hand it back to CeeDee Lamb, and it does something very similar to the play action that we saw earlier in this drive with the linebackers, and it actually even gets the cameraman out on it. Watch. See? Everybody kind of just stops there, and we can see that again better. Here, we'll go a little slower. So there's that sweep, or that fake little toss. You can see the linebacker settling in here, this one, this one, this one. I know that's not a linebacker, but see them stop, and even the camera stop. And then, look at that. He's got like an extra, from that thing there, he's gotten an extra 4 steps. And the reason why that can matter so much is like that allows this block to even take place. And that's nearly more than it is. So I just think that's a really cool play design. This is the last time I'll show that. All right, so you remember when I told you guys I don't really feel like I know what holding is anymore? They called holding on Bass here. And let me show you what happens. He stumbles a little bit and you're maybe thinking, well, maybe the other angle, his arm is there. Well, we have the other angle. So let's just look at that. If what they said Parsons did was not holding, like what they were doing to Parsons, I don't understand how this is holding at all. Oh well. All right, 8th drive for the defense, and this is just showing, you know, overshown. He has this tremendous speed, but that can bite him. And he just overplays it a little bit, and it doesn't work out for us. And I'm not going to show his injury, but this is the response to the team. I'm just showing you. I think if I showed you, it's pretty gruesome that I might get some YouTube guideline restrictions or something. But I'm just showing just the concern that all of the team has. And you can even see a couple players, one from our team, one from their team, signal to the sideline, hey, you need to come out here. Sad day, really sad. 2nd and 4, 8th drive for the defense. Something that I noticed during this game is whenever our safeties came up for this run stopping, they did a really good job of doing that, of actually stopping the run. It's good to see. We have Hooker here, but earlier in the game, you could have saw Wilson doing that as well. Here we're gonna have the Bengals picking on Bland again. It's a 3rd and 4, and they're going to go for everything, and Bland just plays it really well. Like I said, he had a really good game, just in a bad moment there at the end, but the rest of the game was excellent. So it's about from this point on where I start losing faith in our offensive coordinating and calling. Really, I don't have a problem with this play. It's just the beginning of the end for the things that we were doing well. 2nd and 10 here. We're throwing to Turpin. And like I said, I like doing things with Turpin, but the use of him here I don't think is great. And I'm not sure if this is him or the coaching, but I don't think you should be putting him out on the edge out here like this, exactly because of his size, and the corner is able to just squeeze him down. I think he works better in the middle of the field. I know he's small and maybe we're trying to protect him, but even just like an inside release and going up, we'll see that the safety is over here and this safety comes down. So like that's I think the best opportunity for him. And really, if this safety is going to come down like this, and I think they were doing this fairly often. Then in the Texans game, we saw him break one with a little slant. Maybe that's an opportunity there. I don't mind going down the field at all. It's just, I don't think this is a proper use of Turpin. One last time. See, he's just getting squeezed out. All right, 3rd and 10. This is a 3 and out. This is just pretty rough. It's all out blitz. They only have 3 people in coverage for the 3 people who are going out. He's looking out this way. I don't know why he's going up here. I would prefer, if you're going to look one way, which is probably all he has time for, I would prefer you look here, which is Lamb, your best receiver. He ends up just throwing it as he's getting hit and it doesn't go anywhere. So it's a rough one. If we look back at it, you know, in hindsight, you can see that this is pretty wide open. And probably would have got the first down. Okay, 9th drive. You can see Kendricks just does a really good job of scraping here and making that tackle. So we see him right here. Just good stuff on his part. This 3rd and 13, it should have been a face mask on the Cowboys. And there's also that they missed that, and we could have recovered that fumble, and that would have changed this game. But the broadcast was wondering why they missed that, and what they didn't really show was like where the referees are. So you have this guy looking this way, and if we go back to the other angle, you can see that we have two refs looking this way. So you can imagine that that guy that's looking this way might not see this, and these two definitely probably can't see that. So that's why that's able to not be seen there. And with that fumble, if the Cowboys get that this play could have just been totally different in multiple ways. Cowboys recover that, maybe the Cowboys win. If the face mask is called, maybe this drive continues on and they score. They end up scoring anyways, but you could see how that drive, that play could have turned the game. The no call is pretty big there. All right, 9th drive. This is probably the most infuriating drive to me, and the drive that I think if anybody was on the fence about Mike McCarthy, I think you should be off the fence here, and here's the reason why. You have a 1st and 10, 20-20, you have the ball, it's about, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes left, maybe 5 minutes, and you run it for 13, 14 yards with Dowdle, okay? The thing about that afterwards is you come out with 3 straight passes. Here's pass number 1, and that's not executed super well, but it doesn't look like it has much anyways. Maybe you get 3 yards from it, but there's pass 1, not super great. Here's pass 2. And there's just nothing really there either. He ends up going here with it, and just, I don't know, maybe you can call pass interference, but Cooks isn't upset. I'm not upset. And then because you're now on 3rd and 10, you're gonna have to throw the ball, and it almost is intercepted. It's almost sacked. On the broadcast, they said that Turpin was open, and he was not. And we're actually lucky that this ball was tipped. So you can see here, this is, first of all, pretty interesting. They put 2 defensive linemen here kind of as linebackers, and I guess they did this knowing this is a passing situation and that the play would have to develop in order for us to get down the field, and it almost gets home. I mean, that action works. We have a little spin here that benefits, but you can see that this ball is tipped here, and this guy is coming right here. Like, that ball is not making it. That was an interception if it gets through. All right, 10th drive for the defense. This is the holding play that Micah Parsons draws on 2nd and 16. It's 2nd and 16 because there's a holding play that Jordan Lewis drew. So you can see those holding calls really helped us out to get us into a favorable spot here with 3rd and 19. And this ends up being a sack by Leofau, which is good because we're going to be seeing a lot more of him now that Overshone is gone. He's right here. And we'll see that one more time. Good stuff. And that leads us to probably the most infamous play from this game, which actually has a pretty crazy story just in itself. So it's blocked. So at this point, as soon as it crosses the line of scrimmage, even though it's blocked, if it's touched, then the Bengals get it. Okay, so this is actually, this rule is there to protect the special teams defense from this situation, because say that the rule was written differently, like if you blocked it, then any of these guys can come and catch the ball and run it down the field. Well, then that makes it where you don't want to try to block it, because if it tips, you tip it, then the other team gets it. So once it passes the line of scrimmage, it acts like a regular punt. And so it's really there to protect the defensive side of the special teams. And so, yeah, Amani Owarye ends up grabbing it and not holding on to it. This is what's interesting about this is, check this out. These two are going to communicate about who to get because at the last second, 97 is going to go over here. So they communicate about which one should take who. And this guy knows his assignment and he just whiffs on him. So we can see it from the other angle. 45 just whiffs, and you can see him looking back like, oh no. And yeah, his worst nightmare, it's blocked. So we'll just keep our eyes out on 45 here. That's right, he's the one that actually recovers the ball. It's crazy. Went from the special teams 0 to the special teams hero in like 5 seconds. All right, so this is the anticipation thing that we've been talking about this game that really just bites us. I don't think Bland was expecting the ball to be on Chase so quickly, which is why his angle is so terrible. I think he was expecting the ball to be more out here, and because Burrow is throwing this ball before he's even in his break, whenever he catches that, Bland is just in terrible position. So I think it's just part of the anticipation thing that really bit us there. So last drive for the Cowboys offense, and I really liked this beginning, right? You have him fighting Lamb, fighting through that and getting that reception. Let's take off the little bug there at the bottom so you can see it a little better. Okay. Now, what I would like for us to do done is get up on the ball and hike it right away, but instead we called a timeout. And the reason I like doing that is because it just keeps the defense on their heels, makes it where they don't have to, or they can't sub, and you're trying to wear them down. That's, I think, one of the reasons why the 2-minute offenses are usually so effective. But here we are after that catch, and it's 1st and 10. So this kind of have Cooper Rush is just, he's not a scrambling quarterback, and you have that unathletic quarterback situation being shown here. All right, 2nd and 7, and he gets sacked. Now, this is a tough one. I feel like Adoga has actually been doing a fairly decent job on 91 here, which is the sack leader in the NFL. And maybe he's expecting that Rush wasn't going to drop back as far, or that he would have some help up here, but he's just beat. I mean, basically on skates. I'll see that one more time. So of course Cowboys call timeout there, and this is actually a pretty great play on Cooper Rush's part. If you're just looking at this, he's got to make a decision now because he sees this guy coming unblocked, and this CeeDee Lamb has a route that's way out here, and like, who's open here? You know, he's got to make a decision to throw the ball, and who's open. So he knows the routes, and he gets Ferguson here, and I think that's a pretty good job of making the best of a bad situation by Rush, which leaves us with the 4th and 7. And this does not go well for Rush or any of the team. So we'll just take this real slow. You can see up here that CeeDee Lamb just turns around his defender. Okay, so that's open here. Rush does not see that. All right, he likes to, once he sets his back foot, he likes to throw the ball. So he has these two, that's where his angle is, but still, CeeDee Lamb is open as he's crossing this here. And we can see from the other angle that he never actually looks at CeeDee Lamb. So we'll go slow at the snap. So you can see he's gonna put his head here and look at one for just a moment, right? And then he's back out this way, but he never looks over here at CeeDee Lamb. His throw is a little high. I think maybe one of the reasons he's a little high is either he rushed the throw so he doesn't let his arm follow through, or he wasn't expecting Ferguson to come back. So when Ferguson comes back, he is throwing it over him. The ball would have been high even where he was, but he could have caught it if it wasn't, if he hadn't come back to the ball, which is what he's supposed to do. It's no knock on Ferguson. Yeah, it's going to be rough. It'll be a hard catch either way. And that's the end of the game. That's all she wrote. Hey, thank you so much for watching. It's at this point that I usually, at least this season, have transitioned into talking about my faith in God or the Bible or all three of those. And so I could understand if you clicked on this and you're like, I am not interested in this portion of it. May I suggest a video that I have done previously that will be linked in the description and also at the end of this video that showcases the downside of keeping a coach after 5 years. It's a pretty interesting video. Now for the rest of us, we're going to be flipping over and talking about 2 Chronicles 16. And we are dropped into the 36th year of Asa's 41-year reign. And he finds that King Baasha of Israel, or Baasha of Israel, is doing some funky stuff on the southern border, or the northern border of Judah. So Israel and Judah have split at this time, and so Judah's the southern portion and Israel's the northern portion, and north of them is Aram. And that's important because Asa is going to take silver and gold out of the treasuries of the Lord's temple and his own palace and send it to Ben-Hadad, the king of Aram, who was ruling in Damascus, which is just a town. And what King Asa is doing is making treaty and saying, hey, you attack from the north, and because I gave you all this money, and then King Baasha will retreat from all this southern activity he's doing here at my border and worry about you. And it works. Ben-Hadad agrees, and he sends commanders, and they conquered northern towns. And so Baasha heard this, and he stopped building in Ramah and abandoned his work. Ramah is just a town close to Judah. So then Asa takes away some of the materials that he's been using there in Ramah and builds up the towns Gibeah and Mizpah, which are on the northern side of Judah. Now Hanani, just guessing how you say a lot of these names, comes and says, hey, because you relied on the king of Aram and not on the Lord your God, eventually he says, from now on you will be at war. And he's referencing here whenever King Asa was delivered from a big army coming from the southern border, and he called on to the Lord. See, when you relied on the Lord, he delivered them into your hand. But here, he says you relied on king of Aram and not on the Lord your God. Here's a particularly captivating verse. For the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. And so we can see that later on in Asa's life, he doesn't really learn his lesson. So this is the 39th year of his reign. He's afflicted with a disease in his feet. And even though his disease was severe, even in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from the physicians. And so I find this verse, this chapter, to be rather convicting, because I think King Asa is operating in a way that we would find logical, right? He even has his strategy work out where he sends stuff to Aram and his northern border is relieved from the pressure of Israel. But the heart there is that he's not relying on God. And the heart here at the bottom as well, it's logical if you're not feeling well to go to physicians. But we can see that the problem is in his illness, he did not seek help from the Lord, but only from the physicians. And so there's just been this concept in my head that's been pressed there for the last week or so as I reflect on this chapter, that healing comes from the Lord. And he may use physicians to do that, but the healing itself is from God, not from the doctors. And that's just been a good reminder to me to be someone who's relying on God. And even recently when I've been praying for people who've not been doing well, I've been praying for the Lord to heal them. not the doctor's hands, not the doctors, but the Lord.
Hey, you're still here, which is pretty incredible. This is a really long video. Thank you so much. And I'd really appreciate it if you would share it with somebody who you thought might like this video. If you don't know anybody that would like this video, don't feel the need to share. But if you know somebody who would, I'd really appreciate it. That's all I got. Jesus is King.